Hey everyone, it's Michael Kikle. I hope you're doing well today, and I have a video here to talk about Pokemon Adventures number 1. Story is done here by Hidenori Kusaka, and the art is done by somebody named Meito. Now, this review is going to be kind of a very childhood-centric review. I've never read this manga, ever. Just in case you didn't know, yes, it is a manga. It's the first 3 volumes of the actual manga put into one big book. Which is a good deal, by the way. It was actually like $20 for this whole 3-book thing, and usually manga are $10 a piece to $12 a piece, so it's not a bad deal at all. I picked this up about 6 months ago, and it took me from that weekend that I bought it until now to finish it. Because I would pick it up, and I would put it down, and I'd pick it up and put it down. But anyway, this review is going to be very nostalgic. I'm going to be talking about a little bit about the history of Pokemon at first, then my history with Pokemon kind of blended into that, and then the actual book itself, or books, I guess, in this case, but I'm just going to refer to it as one book. Now, first and foremost, the first ever thing in Japan to come out of Pokemon were the video games Red, Blue, and Yellow. They may have done green there instead of yellow, but I think it was Red, Blue, and Yellow. Anyway, then you had the card game come out, and I believe then you had this, and then the TV show, right? This is generally the same concept and setup as Red, Blue, and Yellow's old original first-gen games. It has the first-generation Pokemon, it has a lot of the, for example, the main character's name is Red, just like it was in the original Red game. Pokemon escape from Professor Oak, because of you, and you have to go try to collect them all. It's fairly similar in concept. The art style very much was carried over to the anime from this manga. I really like that. And now to get kind of into my history of Pokemon. It started out with the TV show. My cousins and I, like every 90s kid, heard about Pokemon in like 96 when we were all like 2 and 3 years old. And we were in love with it. Everything from the amazing music and theme song especially of Gotta Catch 'Em all the way into the amazing colors, the look of the show, you know. And I got so much into it, my grandparents bought me the Game Boy games, and I love those. I still have them. I pretty much have every Pokemon game up to Black and White. I think I just bought Pokemon Black, and that's it. But after that, I didn't buy, like, both games. You used to have 2 different versions you can get, Black and White. I never really did anything like that. I don't have Platinum, I think is one of them. Yeah, I think there was, like, Platinum and something. I don't have any of that generation. I heard they're super expensive now, which sucks. And I never bought Emerald either, but I had a friend who did back in the day, and that was around the time pre-orders, by the way, were like a first ever thing. Like, I think that was the first game I ever heard of having a pre-order put upon it at a Walmart, so it was kind of crazy. And it was before my Walmart changed locations, right? It's pretty wild, thinking of those old memories of that original store I went to every week. But anyway, we all got into the card games, we loved the show, we played the games, and I never even thought about this being a manga. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z, which was huge in the 90s too, and Gundam and all of that. I never thought about it coming from a manga, so I never took out the time to hunt this stuff down, and more than likely, it probably wasn't available here in the US anyway. Maybe Dragon Ball Z, maybe Naruto when it came around. I don't know. But Pokemon I never even thought of. So, even though this was the inspiration for the TV show, I personally think the TV show, the games, the card game even, which my friends and I, by the way, would play as Yu-Gi-Oh! Rules, not like with Pokemon rules, because we didn't know how to play it. If you didn't back in the day, since we didn't have the internet really, most people didn't, if you didn't go to a local like a comic shop or like a game store or anything like that, and not like a video game store, just a regular game shop in your mall or whatever, if you didn't go to something like that, you didn't know how to play Pokemon. You had to have a VHS tape with a mat that came with it to be able to understand the rules of the fucking card game. But that was the case for everything, except for like D&D, you know, they came with guidebooks and rule books and stuff. Card games like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pokemon didn't have that, but we all loved Yu-Gi-Oh! Even more when that came around the same time, a few years down the road, before I was even 10 years old. And we all played Pokemon by Yu-Gi-Oh! Rules. I don't know how we did. We probably just made up shit on the fly. I'm pretty sure that's how it went. But still, good times, good memories. But I went ahead and picked up this book out of curiosity. Like I said, it's 3 books in one. And the cover on this book is a goddamn lie. Let me just tell you that. It may look like a very, oh, he's being nitpicky type of thing. No, let me explain it. This character on the cover here is not named Ash Ketchum. He's actually named Red, just like the original character was from the Red video game. That's cool. A lot of the Pokédex stuff in here are screenshots from the old games for Game Boy. I thought that was really cool too. But this cover here, the way this character Red is drawn, it doesn't look like that in the book. It is very clear from like page 1 of this like 650 page long book that this is made for children. Now, I don't have a problem with that, right? There are things out there like the Smurfs live action movies or the Sonic the Hedgehog movies that are clearly made for children, not just a throwback to us 90s kids, but made for children in context of their jokes, their humor, how they go about things. They're more of an innocent way of like the Transformers films, having like human beings thrown into the mixture of, robots doing shit. But this is such a kids focused thing, and I never thought about Pokemon in that context. It may surprise you, but people like myself that grew up with it, we always lumped this in the same generally serious and capable and quality of something like Dragon Ball Z, Gundam, any of that. And now in hindsight, after reading this, I realize how Pokemon is clearly a franchise for children. It's not like a Crash Bandicoot that has a little bit more of a more teenager humor to it in a lot of great ways. And I'm not saying all that as a diss to Pokemon once again. I love Pokemon. I love the first generation stuff. Like I said, the show, the types of Pokemon, the games, all of that stuff. Probably more than anything that ever happened in Pokemon, up to Ruby and Sapphire, which I really love too. The games. But this particular book, I was not one time interested in the story of this book. Not once. It's very much focused on animals and love of animals, which Pokemon always was. I love animals. That's really cool. I like that part of it. But it's really generic here in that respect. Team Rocket is in this, obviously, like it always was. Jesse and James and Meowth are not in here, which was, whatever. It's more focused on being its own thing. Kind of being more like an adaptation of the games back in the day. But it's the general art style that immediately kind of ruined it for me. Even though I keep saying it's for kids, it doesn't mean I have to lie to you and tell you I was into it even though it was for children. I wasn't. At all. Absolutely was not. Everything from the humor to like the silliness of some of this storyline, sometimes it's a little too goofy and silly and too childish for my taste. And I don't mean that as condescending, like oh, it's babyish. Like, no, I mean like I genuinely like don't care about it. Like I'm indifferent to it, But then there are other moments of it. Like there's one of those snake Pokemon from the first gen, like the purple snake looking thing. It was like a cobra. That gets like decapitated. At one point, and you see like its innards, like you can see into like where its neck was and shit, and it's like, why did you do that for such a goofy looking book with goofy looking art? There's one point a Psyduck that's like a zombie, and like it has like a missing eye and shit, and it looks dead. It's clearly, if I was a kid reading this, I would have been like, that's a fucking zombie Pokemon. It was a hallucination nonetheless, but it was kind of like surprising to see that in here after the art style I saw. Now back to the cover of the book though that I keep bringing up. This fucking character, Red, in the book, does not have 5 fingers. He may have like a rounded off 4-finger bundle on his like hands, and then he has a thumb that you can distinctly tell is a thumb. The art style changes up so much and is so inconsistent because it's a kid's book. They don't give a shit about this. The chapters are super short. I think there's like 50 chapters in this book. So the chapters may be like 10 pages long. I'm assuming they were included in like a Shonen Jump or something once upon a time. I don't know. I am not a fan of the art style. It really, really ruined the book for me in a lot of ways. But, again, it's a kid's book. I think kids would pick this up and really like it. It's not wordy at all. Most manga aren't, depending on what we're talking about. If it's Death Note, Jesus, they'll talk you to death. They'll talk you into fucking suicide with a book. Literally, the concept of Death Note. But Pokemon here being more for kids, you're lucky if you have a big-ass thought bubble that says, like, the word yes. Just in the dead middle of it. It's, to me, not impressive, like, at all. There are twists and turns in here, one involving Professor Oak later in the book, I guess in the third book, that was... If I was even a kid reading this, I would be shocked if some asshat couldn't read this and see the twist coming from a mile away. It's literally like Professor Oak with a bandana, you know? You're not supposed to know it's him, because he's using like a fake name and stuff, and you don't know that. It's awful. There's a lot of gym, like leadership, gym badges and stuff our main character, Red, has to earn. He collects Pokemon throughout the book. It's really, really boring. It's as boring as this review is. I wanted to love it, I really did, but I'm just not into this. I could not, for the life of me, get into this book. I will say Volume 3 gets a little bit better than Volume 1 and 2, to the point where I think if people stuck with it after that, they'd probably like it more. I would be extremely curious what these newer Pokemon adventure books would be like, with like the black and white era and so on and so on. I would be curious to see what those newer series would look like, and I almost decided to pick one up, but I was like, this is the kind of thing, for me, that feels like we would just stick to making this more for kids, which is fine. Again, there's no complaint there coming from me. I just went into this not knowing that, because I grew up on this stuff. And I guess in hindsight, it was more for children than something like, again, Dragon Ball Z, where you had motherfuckers getting their arms ripped off, and people getting punched through the stomach. People dying left and right. The beginning of Dragon Ball Z is Goku dying. I mean, it's not what I thought it was going to be, this Pokemon manga. I'm not going to read anything else from it, at least not right now. I'm not going to continue this particular era because of the art style. I fucking hate it. It's not like it's obtrusive, like you physically can't make out pictures like Attack on Titan was. It's just the idea of this is so circular, like in a Mickey Mouse way. Like everything has a fucking circle. Fingers, hands, palms. The cover of this book is a goddamn lie. The book's art never, ever looks like that. If it did, it would be better as a book. It's just not. If they took the stories from this and even re-illustrated them with, like, what the cover art looks like, it wouldn't save it. Because the writing is so rough and so lame, for kids, to make it easier to process, to understand what they're seeing, whatever. It was nice being in a world in this book where I could see these old Pokemon I grew up with. But man, it is such an inconsistent book in every possible way. I guess we've been spoiled over the years with things like Star Wars until Disney bought it, or things like Harry Potter from the 90s as well, and how mature those were for children's stories. And how, Harry Potter basically kicked off the YA genre over time. It became more for adults and teens than it was for kids. But it started out for children, even though it was dark as shit. So anyway, Pokemon Adventures Volume 1 is really, to me, such a mixed bag, dude. But it's also, like, more negative to me than anything. It's like if you had to sit down and watch the fucking Wiggles, right? You're not gonna like that, but it's not for you. That's what this was like for me. It's like the Wiggles. So, anyway, what do you think about Pokemon Adventures Volume 1, or the manga 1 through 3? What do you think about all that? Did you love these? Did you hate it? Did you keep going on? Do you recommend people keep going on? Let me know everything you think down in the comment section down below, because I am never touching this again. I have no reason at all within me to even waste my time on it. And yeah, I feel like I wasted my time all these months reading like 20 and 40 and 50 pages here and there, because I feel like nothing was accomplished anywhere in it. It just, to me, just feels like it's a giant empty bag with nothing in it, So anyway, what did you think about Pokemon Adventures? Let me know. Thank you guys for watching. What do you like best? The card game, the anime, the manga, the video games? Let me know everything you think down below. I'd love to hear everything you have to say about the series. Thank you all for watching, guys. Again, God bless you. Catch you later. Merry Christmas, and goodbye.